future, talk radio will actually educate, inspire, and make you think. The future is now. Topics and music that affect your life from Universal Broadcasting Network. Tune in at ubnradio.com.
She's passionate about telling stories of amazing women who are rocking the world and empowering women to live, love, and thrive. Here's your host, Catherine Gray.
Hi, welcome to Live, Love, Thrive Women's Empowerment Hour, brought to you, of course, by 360karma.com. And as you know, every week we have on women that are just trailblazing and changing the world. And today is no different. We're going to be talking with Harriet Rosetta, who is the founder and the clinical director at Beit, which is a addiction center, recovery center. And then we're going to also be talking with Carolyn Olavarria. We're having her back. She is the first Latin American GM in the country for Honda. And we're having her back to talk about how she's helping empower women. And both of these amazing women are going to be featured at the upcoming Live, Love, Thrive Women's Conference that we're doing with the City of West Hollywood. That's on November 4th. Harriet's going to be on the Forever Young panel, which is women in their 80s and 90s who are still rocking it. And then we are going to have Carolyn there as one of our award recipients. So we're looking forward to talking to her later. And right now, please give a warm welcome to Harriet Rosetta. Hi, Harriet. How are you?
I'm great. So happy to be here. Thank you.
Good. I'm happy to have you here. It's always good to have women, especially that are, you're almost 80 years young, right?
Yeah. I don't know how I feel about that exactly.
Yeah, but you're still rocking it.
Yeah,
that's what I'm excited about, because
Absolutely.
you inspire me and all of our listeners. And
the number has no relevance to how I feel.
It doesn't, right?
No.
I know, like, even at 57, I feel like still feel like I did at 30, pretty
Right.
much, except maybe in the morning. You got to admit, in the morning is a little rougher, but right? No,
I don't know. I
no,
get up
you're
early
okay
in the morning. No.
Okay, so I'm going to learn from
I'm
you
in
today.
absolute denial about this number.
I love it. Well, we're excited to have you on the upcoming panel, which is called Forever Young, because so many women in later years now are just working full-time like yourself and doing such great work in the world and making a difference. And we're going to talk about your journey to how you started this amazing program called Beit and what it's all about, because it's really fascinating. And you started your life, though, back on the East Coast, right? In New Jersey?
I did.
Yeah, I can still hear that New Jersey accent a little bit.
Right?
Yeah.
I was brought up in Paterson, New Jersey.
Uh-huh.
And I lived a number of years in New York City. I still feel like I'm a New Yorker in my heart and soul.
Yeah. And I moved here from New York. I'm a big fan of New York.
Yeah,
I love it
I
there.
too.
But I love L.A. equally. I'm sure, obviously, you
Now
do, too.
this is my home and the
Yeah.
place where I have made a difference in the world. So LA is important to me too.
So you were telling me you grew up in, like, a middle-class Jewish family. You were an only child.
I was an only child. The message I got growing up was you get married and you have children and you live happily ever after. And if you get a career, it's only in case he dies.
Oh,
And
my
then
gosh.
You'll have something to do.
Yeah,
And
that
there
was
were
some messaging, huh?
2 or 3 careers that were acceptable,
Yeah.
teacher, social worker, and nurse.
Yeah. Young millennial women, they have no idea. I mean, even though we're still breaking all kinds of barriers in different industries, like we're even going to talk about later in the show, in the automotive industry that Carolyn's in, still very male-dominated, obviously. So is the tech world, science world. But we have come a long way in telling women you can do anything and not just be a secretary or a teacher or whatever. Like, in not that long ago, that's what they
true.
were telling little girls.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy.
My mother told me not to learn to type because otherwise I would be a secretary.
Oh, my God. Maybe that was the best advice she gave you.
But my daughter's a doctor.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, wow. That's fabulous.
Right.
And how many kids do you have?
One.
One, and she's what kind
She's
of
a
doctor?
family physician.
Oh, a family physician.
And she has 2 girls.
Wow. Oh, that's awesome. Is she here local?
No, she's in Baltimore.
Oh, Baltimore. Oh, my gosh. East Coast. So she stayed on the East Coast.
Yes.
Yeah. And so let's talk about your journey here. How did you end up in Los Angeles?
Well, I was working for City University of New York. During the open admissions era, they hired a number of social workers to help people acclimate to college life. And then New York went broke around 1983 or 4.
Right.
And all of us were
Yeah.
pink slipped,
Yeah.
fired, basically.
Oh my gosh. Oh no.
And so a good friend of mine had moved out to Los Angeles,
Right.
and we had been raising our children together, and so I followed her.
You know, don't you find whenever somebody tells me they got fired, I always say, the universe has a bigger, better plan
Absolutely.
for you. And so where we always are devastated initially, it always seems like it's because you're meant to be doing something else. And, you know, certainly the universe had greater, bigger plans for you.
Absolutely. I had been on a hunt for a mission from childhood, you know?
Yeah, you told me that.
Yeah,
Do you
my
think-
mother told me I was a missionary child.
Yeah,
I had a world-saving gene in there somewhere.
And you were telling me your dad was very much like yourself, like a civil rights activist and just really
Social justice. He was
Yeah.
very into the Jackie Robinson era of integrating baseball, and
which was ahead of his time. Yeah.
And my parents were both bridge players, and at that time the bridge league was segregated, and my father stood up and said, and if my wife and I will never play again unless you allow our friends, an African American couple, to play.
Wow.
And so he helped to integrate the American Contract Bridge League.
Oh my God, isn't that so cool?
Right.
What a great
he was
guy.
a cool guy.
And then sadly you told me you lost him in his 40s.
Yes, I was 14.
Wow.
He was 44,
Oh my
and he
gosh.
died very suddenly.
Yeah. You know, I have people on the show all the time that have that story of having lost a parent at a young age. I can't imagine. I mean, I felt young just losing them at 45, you know, so I can't even imagine at 14. How did that impact you, and how did you bounce back from that?
That was a very difficult period, and my mother had no room for emotion at the time. You know, stiff upper lip, emotions aren't going to help us now, and so we had to find within us the strength to go on.
Right.
And I learned that from her.
Yeah. Yeah, how to be resilient.
Yes.
Yeah. She was a tough cookie, huh?
She was a tough cookie,
Yeah.
lived to 103.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. They say nowadays that we're supposedly going to be living to 150. Could you fathom
No,
that?
I can't.
I couldn't fathom that.
But
But
she
that's
never-
what they say. But I mean, there was a time we couldn't believe people were going to live to 100. So,
Right.
yeah.
She never became a little old lady. That was her greatest fear. You know, she kept her dignity to the end.
That's great.
So that's my role model.
Yeah. So you have two good role models.
I do.
That resilient lady.
Right?
And
And
then
to change the world.
and then your dad.
And it was hard to integrate those two pieces for a number of
Yeah.
years.
Yeah.
Right?
Actually, those are two really great qualities. Yeah.
But
I mean, and to
sometimes
do the work that you're doing, which we're going to talk about, you have to be pretty strong. Yeah, I mean, you have that humanitarian part of you,
Right.
but that strength that she gave you, that combination, I mean, you're a trailblazer, and we're going to talk about that because it would take both of those strengths to do what you're doing.
and for a number of years until I found this mission, those qualities fought one another for dominance.
Right. Until we're doing what we're meant to be doing, and really,
Exactly.
there's so many people I think sitting on the sidelines that have a calling, but they don't know what it is, and it's that part of it is listening to that inside voice, which you said you had from childhood. That voice saying, "You're meant to help change the world."
Right.
But listening to that, and then when it comes knocking, actually answer, and that's what you did. So share how you got in this
Okay.
position. You had this metaphysical
I
therapist,
did.
right?
I was at a very low point in my life. I had chased one dream or guru after another, and none of them had been it.
Yeah.
And I was really low, and my daughter had gone off to college. I was alone. I was divorced for the second time, and I had no idea what to do. And a friend of mine said, well, before you kill yourself, why don't you go see this lady who's
gosh.
the miracle lady? She's a metaphysician. And I thought that was hokey. I was sort
Yeah.
of a cynic. I didn't believe in anything like that.
Right.
But I was desperate, and I went. And she was a Jewish lady, so that made me feel sort of comfortable. And she said to me, what do you want, my dear? And I said, I don't know what I want. I want to know what I want. And she said, do you pray? I pray? I'm an intellectual Jew. We don't pray. And she said, well, I'm going to pray for you.
Oh my gosh.
Father of the universe, take this woman by the hand and guide her to her rightful work. She knows she wants to make a difference in the world, but she doesn't know how. She said, now that's it. You pay attention. And I laughed and I thought, well, that's kind of hokey, you know?
Yeah.
But I was unemployed.
Right.
And when the want ads came that Sunday, I had left social work, even though I was trained as a social worker.
Mm-hmm.
Something said to me, why don't you see what social work has to offer? And there was a little ad, smallest ad on the page, and it said, person of Jewish background and culture to work with Jewish criminal offenders, Master of Social Work degree required.
No wonder they made the ad little.
So it was that moment. Every time I tell it, the chills go
Yeah.
up and down my arms. I said, oh, my God, you
Yeah.
know, this is it.
But the funny thing is, most people would look at it and say, no way.
Yeah, but
You're right. I
I
mean, I
always
think it's so
liked outlaws
Yeah.
and true crime, and the fact that there were Jewish criminal offenders was the
Yeah.
most exciting thing I'd ever heard. You
I
know?
love it. I love that.
Couldn't wait to tell my mother. So I went and applied for the job, and I started visiting Jewish men and women in jails and prisons.
Wow.
And I was hooked from
That
day
takes
one.
a certain kind of person. Yeah.
Yeah,
It
well, I always
does.
liked true
Yeah.
crime. I mean, I've always
Yeah.
been attracted to the aberrant outlaw
Yeah.
mindset.
So your job was to go into these prisons and help give people hope when
Exactly.
they came out, because what you had found was most that were released ended up coming back.
The recidivism rate
Yeah.
was like 90%.
Right.
People, you don't get help in jail. As a matter of fact,
And what kind of criminals were these? All types?
you know, they're criminals because they're in jail. They've
Right.
broken the law, but most of them were addicts of one kind or another. I mean, I didn't meet Bugsy Siegel or anybody
Right.
who said, I'm going to grow up and be a criminal. They
Right.
were ordinary people, men and
Right.
women like you and me and
Right.
everybody else who
Right.
had somehow stepped over an imaginary line
Mm-hmm.
due to mostly an addictive kind of behavior. Drugs, alcohol, compulsive gambling,
Right.
women who got involved with the wrong men,
Right.
who were driving the getaway car because they were in love.
Right.
You know, not people who set out to
Right.
land in jail.
Right. I
And,
can already see that that's why you work so well with this, your compassion and your perception. You know.
and I liked
Yeah.
the people.
Yeah.
They were my people.
Right. And so as they would come out and they had nowhere to go, you started to
Yeah, that was
have
very frustrating. They would come out and they would
Right.
say, hey, you said you'd help me. Well, how do you get started
Yeah.
when you have no money and you have nowhere to live and you have no resume and, you know, where do you put your head for the night?
Right.
And so I would spend all my time trying to get somebody a bed for the night, and that's all I could do. And at some point I got really frustrated.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, screw it, I'll start my own place. And that was during the time when FEMA money was coming into LA to address homelessness. And so I wrote a grant quickly to buy a place for homeless men and women coming out of jails and prisons.
And that's how you got your first one?
Yeah.
Oh my
Got
gosh.
$149,000 to buy an old house in a rundown section of LA.
Wow.
Had no money for staff. I was alone, so I moved in.
Oh my gosh.
And it was
Wow.
me, and then a few criminals came, and guys, and then they stole all my jewelry, and
Oh my gosh.
I
After
just
you
kept
got them
doing
out,
it.
they
Yeah.
stole your jewelry?
yeah, and then
and
they
you
said,
still said,
"Oh,
it didn't
who
deter
would
you,
do
huh?
a thing like that, Ma?"
Oh. But it didn't deter you.
No,
No.
no. It excited me.
You are in the right job. Somebody else would have been pissed and left in
Maybe.
grades, you know. But so that just made you that more determined.
Yes.
So now, how did you grow it to what it is today? Because you guys have a huge facility today.
We do. We went from this old place downtown, 1st 3 guys and then a few women and ultimately 30-some people. one staff member, me, a budget of $50,000, to now a 40,000 square foot facility on the west side and a budget of $10.5 million and a staff of over 100 and 140 residents who live there.
Wow.
Full time.
So this is all through fundraising and people that believed in what you're doing, and the families of people whose kids you've helped, and and it's blossomed.
It grew organically. 30 years ago, I could certainly not have foreseen what we would become. I was just interested in surviving.
You probably could have never
day.
imagined.
Right.
Yeah. And I know now I've actually been to your services on Friday night where you have the full band, and it's a big celebration.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so you have the living facilities, you have the programs for all kinds of addictions, whether it be alcohol, drugs, food, sex, gambling, everything.
And most recently...
And is it, do you only take in Jewish members?
No, we take
so now you opened it up to everybody.
Although there is Jewish content to the program, but
Right.
I found that people who are not brought up Jewish are often more receptive because they don't come with any baggage.
Right. So you still have people go into the jails and say, if you'll come here to our program and let us help you, then we'll help you get back on your feet.
And often alternative sentencing. We will go to court for people and advocate and recommend rehabilitation in lieu of incarceration.
Tell me about some lives that have been changed.
I'll start with the first one, which is the man I ultimately married.
Yeah, I want you to tell that story.
Who I met.
You met your husband through all of
when
this.
he was an inmate in a state prison, and he was the rabbi's inmate clerk.
Oh, my gosh.
And they had heard that I started this place for criminals when they came out, and they called me to the jail to tell me I didn't know what I was doing. And he was the loudmouth who was the spokesperson for the congregation. And
he was the one that told you didn't know what you were doing?
Right. And what do I know?
I can see the attraction already.
What do I know about criminals? Some social worker, you know, bleeding heart liberal girl.
Yeah.
And so I said, look, if you're so smart, when you get out of here, come help me. And one day he showed up.
He did?
He did. He said, I'm here to help you.
Wow.
And then he became a rabbi a couple of years later. He's fond of saying that he's the only rabbi who went to prison before he was a rabbi.
And so then you married.
Then we married, and now he's the spiritual leader of the congregation. I'm the clinical director, and we put together spirituality and psychotherapy in 12 steps.
That is amazing. How many people are in the program at this point?
140 people live there.
Wow. That's a lot of people if you think about it, 140.
And 80% of our staff are former residents.
Oh
so
my
we
gosh.
hire people who've come through the program.
Isn't that awesome?
Because they make the best employees.
Right.
Except when they don't.
Yeah. And so have other people come out and gone on to do great work as a result?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If you look at the landscape of recovery in Los Angeles, even at the high-end rehabs, that charge $40,000 and $50,000 a month, they're staffed by Beit graduates.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And so what is the percentage of people that continue to be productive and not go back to jail? What is your...
Well, we haven't done a real longitudinal study yet. We've been involved in a research study with UCLA where they're looking at what works.
Oh.
And
but it's the majority, would you say?
I would say we have probably a success rate of 70%.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah, it
is.
And
that's more than the average program.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because we're a community. Not you don't just graduate.
And it is a community. When I've been to your service, not only is that a wonderful celebration of music and speaking, but people are having their anniversaries, and it's so supportive. Everybody's cheering everybody on.
Exactly.
It's a beautiful program that you've created.
It is a community of belonging and acceptance, which is, I think, what all people crave, addicts particularly. They're looking for connection.
Right. Well, it starts at the top, and you're the one that believed in them and continues to support them and believe in them, and that's your ideology that you bring to the table. That these are people like you and I that, like you said, stepped over the imaginary line. It could happen to anyone.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It is very imaginary.
Yeah, a lot of people who have delved in drugs or DUIs or drinking and driving, whatever, they didn't get caught. You know, they're the ones that
Right.
were the lucky ones, and these we're not. But
Myself
it's
included.
great that you're giving them a second chance.
You asked for, this morning I saw a young man who, I still take real interest in a lot of the people who are musicians, because I've always been very attracted to music myself. It's my way to the spiritual. And this young man came, and he had been training as an opera singer, but then he became a heroin addict.
Oh, wow.
And he stopped singing, and he's been with us over a year now, and started just singing at services, and we just were able to hire him, and he's going to be a cantorial assistant.
Oh, that's
and
great.
he works in the music program, and he does all aspects of the music program, and he helps other people with their voice lessons. And so those kinds of things are very thrilling.
That's great.
And I looked at him this morning. I thought, yeah, I mean, you could have been with a needle in your arm somewhere.
Homeless or whatever.
Yeah.
God bless you. That is
Thank you.
wonderful work you're doing.
Right.
And you've been doing this how many years?
31 now.
31 years.
Yeah.
You know, see, this is what I think keeps people young, is to be doing what you love and having a
Absolutely.
passion. I mean, you get up in the morning and have a passion and a reason to
Absolutely.
live your life
It still
fully.
amazes me that they pay me for this.
I love that. Well, I'm looking forward to having you at the conference.
I can't
And
wait.
I think if people are out there listening and they know someone suffering from an addiction, that they
Please.
need to look up beitteshuva.com. Is it .org?
.org.
.org, beitteshuva.org, which we have on the screen. And you're just doing amazing work.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I feel very blessed to have found the place where I belong.
Yeah, you're doing what you were meant to be doing.
Yep.
Yeah. So we will see you in a couple weeks
You
at
will.
the conference, November 4th.
I'll be there.
And we will be right back with Carolyn Olavarria. Stay tuned. Thank you for tuning in to the Live, Love, Thrive show, where we bring you powerful and positive programming about women and those who support women's empowerment. It seems by sharing their stories and showing us their talent and potential, they remind us of our own. We ask you to join us weekly by taking a minute to subscribe to our 360 Karma YouTube channel so you get to see every episode of these uplifting and inspiring stories. We all need more of this, yes? And did you know we have the Live, Love, Thrive book on our 360 Karma website and on Amazon? If you enjoy reading books of incredible women who are doing amazing work in the world, you will want to pick up a copy. Also, when you join 360karma.com, you will enjoy our growing video content of expert advice and support, and learn about our workshops and our second annual Women's Conference in West Hollywood, November 3rd and 4th of this year. If you would like to align with a like-minded, purpose-driven community, you will feel at home at 360karma.com. We encourage and support you to live the life you love.
RTB Financial Group empowers women to raise the bar and take control of their financial future. For more information, visit rtbfinancialgroup.com or call Amanda Barr at 424-284-4216. The Live, Love, Thrive program is brought to you in part by Honda of downtown Los Angeles, supporting the equality and empowerment of women.
And we are back with one of my heroes, Carolyn Oliveria. So happy to have you back.
I'm ecstatic to be back amongst one of my heroes.
Well, I tell you what, a lot of people know, but we're going to remind them that you are the first Latin American female GM in the country for Honda. I'm wondering, since you were on last year, is there any other... Do we know? Are there any other?
I don't
females?
know. I definitely think there's an increase in females in the automotive industry for sure.
Right.
I know
that's
just
good.
in our own store.
Right.
And there's definitely female general managers. I actually am friends with a few of them.
Yeah.
That we've made acquaintance. And
So
it's
so
definitely
the
up and coming.
times are a changing.
Amen.
Yeah.
It's about time.
Yeah, right. But you're a trailblazer in that, you had to be the first in order to break down the doors for other women.
Sure. That wasn't my intention.
Right.
you know?
I know. But, we were talking about this yesterday, and it does take men in positions of influence to put more women in positions of influence, because so many of them are in those positions. So it takes people like the owner of Honda downtown LA.
Men.
Yeah, like the owner of Honda downtown LA, which is Joe Schuster, believed in you and gave you opportunities to grow within his company.
Yes.
It takes men like that in order for women to move up the ranks.
Absolutely.
Because they have the ability to do that or not. Now, he and others realize, and research actually shows out of Harvard and Yale, that companies that move women into positions of higher positions of management are more profitable than companies that don't. So that right there, since men are all about the numbers, they should be moving the women up for that reason. Now, to prove our point, let's talk about the success of your dealership, because you started, it was a defunct dealership when you started there 6 years ago.
Yes.
And-
Today.
Yeah.
6 years ago today.
Yeah, 6 years ago today. Yes, happy anniversary.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
And it was number 0 out of like
0.
1,500 dealerships.
Yes, ma'am.
And now you have that dealership in the top 25 in the country.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
That
ma'am,
is
we do.
amazing.
It's not just me, obviously. It takes a village, as
it
they
does
say.
take a village, but it takes a leader of the village.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. So it's been a great run, and we're looking forward to the next 60.
Yeah.
So
now, when you started off in the automotive industry, I know you had no intention or even thought that that would be a career.
No,
But the
that's
beautiful
true.
thing now is that you're trying to let women know that the automotive industry is a career path they can go.
Absolutely.
And that it's a lucrative one, and and one that they could really enjoy. And I know you're giving opportunities to women at your dealership in downtown LA for everything from service, service techs, to sales,
Absolutely.
to what other positions are in a dealership?
I mean, there's accounting, there's sales, there's parts, there's service. There's so much. That
so many
makes,
moving wheels.
So many moving parts. And really, it's across all the departments, and there's women in just about every single department. And and a lot of the women are in top leadership positions. And sometimes it's conscious. But like I love hiring a female service technician. That makes my heart just very happy, and it shows the boundaries breaking down. But a lot of the times it's just merit. It's not so much, oh, you're a woman, I have to make sure you get
And I
promoted,
don't think that people should be put in positions of moving up just because they're a woman or a minority or whatever.
Correct.
But the thing is that so many qualified women are not moved up in various industries because they're a woman, and they're perfectly qualified. So there's a whole nother Oprah. So I know your parents were immigrants from Argentina, and they left a very oppressive situation with the Perón being in the dictatorship there, where people were being rounded up if they didn't agree with the government,
ideology,
and put into camps. This is so hard to fathom, but thank goodness your parents escaped that so that you would have this opportunity. You would have never had this opportunity had they not left there. It just goes to show how important it is for people to be able to immigrate to America, where we have these freedoms, and where women probably have the most opportunities than anywhere in the world.
Without question. Without question.
But what I like is that, and the reason that we're honoring you at the conference next week, the Live, Love, Thrive conference, is not only are you a successful woman, but as all of our award winners, and it's a requirement, is that they're giving back. And so you're not only giving back by hiring other women, but now you've started a new group on Facebook. I want to talk about that. I'm going to have you pronounce it because it's
Mujeres Mejorando.
Yeah, that's what I said.
So translated is women getting better. Mejorando mujeres, getting women better. So it's like a double play on words. And
getting women better.
And my intention is, being a part of this conference, the Women's Empowerment Conference last year, and having opportunities since then because of that. I went to the Latina Conference with Councilman Price of the 9th 9th district in May, specifically geared towards Latinas in that district, and was able to moderate a panel with them and have a nice conversation. It really, that's where my aha moment came, where I was like, I can do more. I need to do more.
Yeah.
And I really want to be a source of opportunity for women, and advice and direction that I had to learn on my own.
Right.
For the most part.
Right.
And I didn't see the vision until it just kind of happened, and I kind of was like a bull in a china closet and went straight through and powered through. And I want women to know that if they just, focus their energy and their direction, they can do it.
Right.
And there's a path and an avenue, and there's people to assist.
And I know you said you had one of the guys in one of your departments this week say to you something about
fear.
About fear. And how did you, and not realizing, he's realizing now with what's going on in the news, how difficult it is for women to be at the top. So if someone is at the top, what they've been through to get there. Yeah. And that they have a little more respect now for you to think about how unfair the playing field was or is. And what you had to go through. Like, let's just say, you started off in sales? In sales.
Selling cars,
Okay, so let's hear some of those stories.
Oh, Lord. How much time do you have? The good thing is I had a tough skin going in.
Yeah.
I've definitely developed a tougher one through the years.
Right.
And, it just comments and it's ignorance, really. And that's why I want this group that I'm starting to really be educational.
Right.
And in all fronts, professional, financial for women, advice-wise. It's education because, I got confronted by people buying cars, men sometimes, that would say, oh, you're here like just to show the cars, right? And then I'm going to talk to a real sales guy. Because my head couldn't compute the numbers, I guess, in their mind or something, or I couldn't know what was under the what was under the hood or whatnot. Yeah. And I'm not claiming to be a service technician, but I could explain the product, right? It's called product knowledge. You learn it, and so just various examples like that. But then I just chalk it up to ignorance. Unfortunately, sometimes I find that women get attacked in that way and they shrivel up and they retract and they don't go forward. Right. And something inside me said, just keep going forward.
You know what I think is interesting, and you don't even realize that you're a model in how you are impacting other women, is that you are a very feminine, very poised woman, and yet you're really strong. And so I think, it's been a discussion of people to say, if you're going to be a successful woman, you have to act like a man. Yeah, and you're like a perfect example that that's not true.
Thank you. Thank you.
So
yeah, I definitely.
But you are a tough woman.
I definitely don't like pantsuits.
But but you're a tough woman. But you're also, you have that warm thing that people love about women. Yeah. Let's face it. Most people want to buy cars from a woman.
They do, and most women do make the decision to purchase the vehicle.
And most women want to, and most men want to deal with the woman. Yeah, sure. And it's so interesting because the industry for so long, and back when I was in advertising, I would go into those rooms and they would be my client, all men, and I'd be like, why aren't there any women on this sales staff? They could clean up, right?
It's true.
Obviously, but it's true. Did you have any issues throughout all these years with the sexual harassment? Because, it's a topic of the news today. We were talking yesterday.
It is definitely a topic, and I'm glad it's come to light in such a public way. Yeah. In the sense that it's a conversation now that's being had nationally, as opposed to just you and I at dinner, for example, right? Chatting about it, because we've all been talking about it for years.
And we probably wouldn't have brought it up. We probably we would think it's taboo, but it's not taboo because it's in the news today.
Right. Yeah. Listen, I'm sure, unfortunately, a lot of women have encountered it in all different types of fields. Sure, it happens in automotive. I'm sure it happens in entertainment. Obviously, we know now that it does, but we always knew. I think in a sense, you know, and now it's holding them accountable, and now the conversation's there on the table, and so now let's keep having the conversation.
Right.
And now let's, hopefully going forward, women won't be so afraid to speak out.
Now, here's why I think more women should be in positions of influence, if not for a lot of reasons. Here's one, is that sexual discrimination and that kind of behavior would not happen if it was a woman boss or manager.
I think we would be more sensitive, obviously, to it,
But I mean, it wouldn't be coming from you. So, I mean,
well,
you know how these, okay, so you've got Harvey.
Sure.
And he's like bossing everybody around because he's the big guy. If that was a woman, I'm trying to say, if that was a woman in that same position, that wouldn't be happening.
Not probably as prevalently.
I'm not saying they couldn't be strong-minded, but it's not going to be sexual harassment.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. And if we have more women in these positions of influence, they do think differently.
Yeah.
So in running your company, don't you think there are ways sometimes that you run your company differently than a man would?
I definitely believe that.
That's
for
what
sure.
I think. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If any of those concerns come up, to me, that's flag on the play. It's,
Yeah.
that's it. It stops now. It's over, or termination. Whatever
Right.
has to happen,
Right.
it gets handled.
So you
it doesn't
give
get brushed under the rug like it did with Harvey for so many years.
So you give people an open door to come to you.
Absolutely.
That's cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You
And
know?
that's how things are going to change.
Yeah.
By women speaking up, more women being in position of influence, and more women running the company saying, "Oh, excuse me, that's not acceptable."
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah,
So
it's not acceptable, and it never has been.
Right.
I think it's just unfortunate that it's been accepted
Yeah.
to be
yeah.
happening as
Right.
a point of moving up.
Right.
as
Like
a-
that we don't even talk about it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
As opposed
So-
to just looking at someone at their merit
Right.
and see what they bring to the table.
So
and
the good news is that there's progress.
Yeah,
happening
exactly.
As we speak.
Exactly.
And I think
Exactly.
That's the momentum forward. Ever since the Women's March, I think lots of momentum has been
Mm-hmm.
happening for women, and I think they're rising up now, saying we're not putting up with this anymore. And that Weinstein thing is a perfect example of that. And then, what about? Is your goal to help more women move into the management positions in the auto industry? Yeah.
So I want to start a mentorship.
When
program.
you own the whole thing.
Yeah.
When you're CEO. Don't laugh. I'm laughing and it's not even funny.
No, I know. It's we'll see one day, hopefully. But I like to live in the now.
Yeah, exactly.
And plan for the future for
Right,
sure.
right.
But obviously, I always say, I say this a lot. I want you to take my job, right?
Yeah.
Because that's how I know I did my job. Is that I trained the employee well enough to move up into the next position.
Right.
And so I want to concentrate that specifically in the dealership and in the automotive retail realm, that I want to start a weekly meeting with my ladies at the store. I'm going to start small and then probably expand out and really have just a mentorship and a conversation and discussion of, what are the hurdles? What do they think their hurdles are? Because there's usually two different things. What one thinks the hurdle is and what the actual hurdle is.
Oh, interesting.
And I find that the hurdle usually is a lot smaller than we think about it in our mind.
And that goes back to the comment that you said someone in your dealership had said to you, how did you not have the fear to move up through the ranks? And you said, I did have the fear. I just walked through it.
Right.
And that's what people have to
the
realize.
choice.
They look at people who are successful and think that they were fearless.
Yeah.
And the bottom line is,
No, the fear's
everybody
there.
has the fear. It's
Every
just a
day.
matter if you let it keep you down or you
Correct.
just bust through it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Fear can be good and bad, right? So
Yeah.
it can hold you
It
back
can-
or it can power you through.
motivate
And
you.
somehow, inside it motivated me. And I said, well, If not now, when? And I'm going to try, and what's the worst that'll happen?
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And, you know, it's not, thank God I'm not a doctor. I'm not dealing with life and death, right? I'm dealing with numbers and things of that nature and customer service. And, you know, I'm a people person, so I was like, okay, I'll figure this out.
Yeah.
You know?
But I love that you want to train some other women and get them going. And So you're going to start with it at the dealership and then branch out and continue to do conferences and speaking engagements. And
that's my goal because, you know, I think the message needs to be out there. And, you know, even though the conversation right now is all the, you know, Harvey Weinstein and what he did and the sexual harassment and all the negativity, I think it's time to take that energy, and it's a great time to be a woman, and really now encapsulate that and say, okay, so now let's go forward and let's power us through, and let's rise to the top. You know, let's do it. Let's get together and do it, and hopefully in my small part I can do something, you know, and change somebody's life the way my life has been changed.
Well, and you know, Facebook is very important tool to reach out to a lot of people.
It is.
So it's a great way for you to grow that community of women, especially Latina American women that want to come together with other like-minded women that are purpose-driven.
Yes.
That want to be helping change the world. And so we are stronger together.
We are.
So getting this group together is an awesome thing.
Yeah.
What are the other conferences that you spoke at this year?
So it was the Latina Conference of the 9th District from Councilman Price, and the Yellow Conference, which was also a fantastic conference with ideological women and women also empowering each other and speaking out about topics that concern women directly.
Right. And what were some of those topics?
You know, a lot of the theme of that conference was entrepreneurial.
Right.
A lot of women-owned businesses and a lot of, you know, branding and things of that nature. And it was really a beautiful conference that I think is pretty young in its stages. It's less than a decade old. And they're doing phenomenal work connecting women that are entrepreneurial and building up their brands.
I love that. Yeah. That's why we do the Live, Love, Thrive conference and our workshops is I feel like so many women, in order to get ahead, especially midlife women, need to become entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
And so...
And it was downtown, so I obviously like supporting downtown and the community downtown.
Right.
So.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. But we're happy to have you in West
Thank
Hollywood.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me.
And so what I was saying is the reason that we have these... the conference and the workshops is to provide the tools and the support and the guidance to women that want to be entrepreneurs, basically, because more and more women are having to do that, either because they can't go up the corporate ladder, or because they're midlife and they can't get a job, or they're midlife, they've had a successful career, but they have some idea they want to implement into the world.
To your conversation you were just having with Harriet, I mean,
amazing.
I mean, how am I following her? But, you know, it's the passion. And I think you find your passion in your midlife because you worked out your kinks. And now you really don't care too much what you say because you know your opinion matters and it has value. And you're going more into your authentic self. Right. And you're finding exactly what you love. Right. And now you maybe have the means a little bit more to do more. In the early years, you're trying to figure things out and just make a paycheck and build and find your way. I do think all throughout life we are doing different jobs to learn different skills so that we can do whatever we're meant to be doing here later in life. That tends to be the puzzle. Yeah, it seems to be the pattern that I've seen throughout. You know, it's like especially in the last puzzle year. Together. Like, oh, I learned this skill and this skill and this skill, and now I'm going to put them all together to do this great thing. Yeah, which is the purpose of why I was put here. Yeah, I think that's true. You were a political science and psychology major. Yes. So is that helpful today? It's definitely helpful. Yeah, it's definitely an interest of mine to this day. I love a good political discussion, but we'll leave that for off the air. But yeah, you know, it definitely instilled in me great communication skills and insights and the ability to understand that everyone's going to have an opinion that's not like yours, and it's okay.
Being a good manager really does take a certain amount of psychology.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
I mean,
sometimes I relate to child psychology.
Yeah. How many people are under you?
We have about 170 employees.
Wow.
Give or take, yeah.
Wow, that is huge.
From
and you guys are
zero.
building a new building.
We are building a brand new facility on Martin Luther King Boulevard.
Wow.
We had our groundbreaking this year. We should be completed by next year.
Oh my gosh, how exciting.
Because there's no winter in LA, so thankful for that.
Yeah.
So, in about a year we should have our 5-story, I think 250,000 square foot facility, all state of the art.
Why did you build a big one? No, I'm just kidding.
I know.
That's awesome.
But so, better service our customers and our employees, and I think it's going to be phenomenal.
Yeah, I saw a rendition of it. It's going to be phenomenal.
Yeah,
you must be so excited.
I'm very excited. The team's very excited. Everybody's.
So 170 people, and does that mean you'll be expanding the team?
For sure, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Absolutely.
More jobs. That's
Absolutely,
awesome.
yeah. We're creating more jobs. So
170 different personalities, I bet. It is
240 or 340.
Some of them have two, right?
Exactly. Yep.
How do you manage that? That's a lot of people.
It's a lot of people, but you know what?
It's your family.
It's my family. It's where I spend the majority of my time.
See, that's the way I think a woman runs a company differently than a man. Maybe. I mean, kind of more like
the guys are there
family.
a lot too. But they're. The majority of the people are male, and so they're part of that family, and they're there a lot too. So, I think it's just it's cultural, right?
Yes,
and it's how we
top
feel.
Down culture.
Yeah, it's how we feel about the place and the team.
Do people care?
And it's a very communicative. I try to make it a very communicative team so that everybody's in contact, and I try to make sure that I know everybody that works there.
That's cool.
It's a lot of people, but
as Oprah would say, everybody wants to be seen and heard.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, that's one of my favorite quotes from her.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and that's what you're doing.
I hear you, I see you.
Yeah, and that's what you're doing.
I try.
Yeah,
I try.
What would be the advice you would give a woman who wants to move up the ranks in any industry, but we're going to apply it to the automotive industry?
At the end of the day, just realizing that there isn't a limit, and that there isn't.
So don't get in your own way.
Don't
hold yourself back.
Right, and don't let anybody else do it either.
Right.
Don't listen to the noise.
Yeah.
Right. I think.
Did people tell you couldn't move up the ranks? Or?
Sure.
Oh, interesting.
But I use that personally as fuel for wanting to show you. Tell me, I'm the person.
Tell me I can't
do it, and I'll show you that I can. Right. But not everybody's built that way.
Right.
And that's what I want to help women understand. That I think everybody can tap into that.
Yes.
In themselves and say, you know what? Yes, I can.
Yeah. Our culture does cultivate women to have low self-esteem. So what you're doing with your group is, I think, showing them how to build self-esteem.
Yeah, that's part of it, for
belief
sure.
in themselves.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
how to walk through that fear.
Yeah, and in the Latino community, unfortunately, and it's changing, but there's a lot of machismo, right? And there's a lot of the man is the boss and the head of the household, and that's all well and good. And I like some of the traditional things, but on the flip side of it is, they need to know they can.
I think you like it in that they should be gentlemen, but not oppressive.
Correct.
Let everybody flourish.
Like the owner of our store.
Yeah, exactly.
He's a perfect example of that.
There you go.
He's not Latin, but it's that mentality.
Yes.
Of, what? He's a man's man, but at the end of the day, everybody's
he respects
at their,
women.
Yes. Yeah. Very much so.
Yeah.
Very much so.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm so happy to have you back. I'm thrilled you're going to be at the
excited.
conference.
I can't wait.
On November 4th. Not only are you getting an award, but you're moderating our financial panel.
I'm excited
which is
about
awesome.
that. Yeah, I'm excited
about that. So we will see you in 2 weeks.
Looking forward to it.
Me too.
November 4th.
Okay, we will be back next Wednesday, but be sure to go to 360karma.com and get your tickets to the upcoming Live, Love, Thrive conference where Carolyn will be and Harriet will be and many other fabulous, like-minded, purpose-driven women. Join us there on November 3rd and 4th for She Tank and then for the Live, Love, Thrive conference. Thanks so much. Make it a great day. Hugs and happiness.